Welcome back. Stasa23 here, back again with some knife therapy, and I was in much need of some knife therapy today, so figured I'd turn on the camera and I'm going to give you my top 10 harder use knives, folding knives, and I'm going to say as well, if I ever need a knife for actual hard use, I'm not going to rely on a folder unless I have to. I would go for a fixed blade any day, but these knives are well suited for hard. If you have a job that requires you to use your knives a little bit harder, these are some of the ones that I would rely on. The first one I have in front of you is made by Boker, and main reason why this one's in that classification is because it's rocking CPM 3V steel. This is a discontinued model. This is called the Solo. It's a Genzanzo design. It's a nice, attractive knife. They make a smaller version, the Solo 2, and just an overall nice knife. You have a low saber ground blade, so you got a nice thick behind the edge, probably about 30 thousandths behind the edge. Decently, you got thick blade stock, thick stop pin, just an overall tough user. Rock solid, no movement left to right. They usually do their stainless liner locks and frame locks well, and this one hasn't ever developed any play and has not traveled over whatsoever, and I've been having this guy for a good while and used it a good bit too, several years. And that is the Boker Solo. The action on this guy is also incredible. It's a drop shut action. It's riding on the combo phosphor bronze with the thin Teflon, and it's not usually my first pick, but this guy is one of my smoothest knives on washers that I have. That is the Boker Solo. The next one needs no introduction. I've done a destruction video test on this guy, and that is the Cold Steel 4 Max. And if I couldn't use a fixed blade and I had to use a knife tough, I know I could rely on this guy. I mean, go watch my video of the Cold Steel 4 Max destruction video. And this guy is just the epitome of hard use. You got thick slab of 20 CV blade steel. You got this pretty high flat grind blade. So this knife is actually, even though it's a big beast, it's decently thin behind the edge for how stout it is, and it's a nice slicer. You have this massive titanium back spring with titanium liners. So, how much stouter could you get? And not to mention these thick G10 slabs are strong enough to handle a bunch of stress anyway. So this guy is just a massive beast. Look at that huge stop pin. Just listen to this. I mean, that is just unbelievable. Rocking almost, I think it's over 10 inches long altogether. Barely fits on frame. That's the Cold Steel 4 Max. Go check out that video if you want to see me putting this thing to the use. Another discontinued model, and that is the Spyderco Tough. I think the name says it all. This is a Ed Shemp design, and he made this as a heavy use work knife, and I think he nailed it. You got that thick blade stock. Once again, my favorite blade steel, CPM 3V. I like CPM 3V because it's extremely tough. It holds an edge for a good bit of time, and even though it's not a stainless steel, it's not terrible when it comes to rusting here in the South. Like CPM M4 is another one that I like a lot, but in the South, in our humidity, I get rust spots just having it in my pocket. So this guy is definitely designed for some harder use. You got a smaller frame lock, like the cutout is a lot closer, giving it more strength. It's got your stainless lock bar insert, like pretty much all knives do these days. And one thing I noticed that I like a lot, and I wish a lot more companies would do it, you don't see any screws right here, and they were able to do it in the inside. I don't know why a lot of companies don't do that, because I hate seeing those. It just makes the design messy. Then you have this huge beefy pivot and a massive, look at that stop pin. That thing is massive. And that is the Spyderco Tough. This guy's nice and smooth too. It always gets me. It always cuts me. I think it just did. But there you go. Spyderco Tough. Another one is been in that hard use category, and that's where they started their company, and that is Strider knives. This is the SNG, and it's the Lego version with your blocky G10 slab, integral slab, and it's got almost a full flat ground blade, decently thick behind the edge. I don't know what I sharpened this one at, but you definitely have some meat behind the edge, so if you need to torque on it a little bit, you're not going to break the steel on this guy. And their heat treat, they use Peter's heat treat, and their heat treat is just excellent. And this one is a special one, rocking Micro Melt PD1. And from my knowledge, that this steel is kind of close to 3V, crew wear, and steels in that nature. This knife, I've used it extensively. Coating's held up pretty well, and got this huge beefy pivot. The stop pins are our blade stops are right here. This guy needs to go in for some warranty work though, because my blade stops, you hear that? They're press fit in there and they've gotten loose on me. Probably doing some of the work I do with it, or used to do with it. But that's the the Strider SNG. Another one I've used very extensively, and I bought it for the specific purpose of a work knife, and I have a video of it up somewhere on the channel. Go check it out if you're interested, and that is the Grayman Knives Dua. They make an excellent product. This guy is rocking, let's see, CPMS 30V with a good heat treat on it. I've used this and abused it for probably 4 years in the chemical plant industries, and it's got that nice beefy blade stock, beefy titanium frame lock, nice beefy stop pin, and another one that is super duper smooth. It uses, of course, it uses the pivot bushing like Sabenza does, but much smoother than any of my Sabenzas ever were. This one, you know, more suited for somebody who has a medium to small size hand, because that's what I have, and as you can see, there's not a whole lot of room left, but don't worry, if you have a big old mitt, they make the Satu, which is a big old beast as well. Kind of like this guy, except it has a little bit more of a recurve. And of all the stuff I've used this for, that aggressive stone wash, I mean, you can't really notice any deep scratches or anything like that. It still looks pretty good. And I mean, I didn't shy away from using this thing on anything. Rather thick behind the edge. You have a saber ground blade on here, and I think this might be 20 degrees per side, and it's still got a big beefy bevel. That's the Grayman Knives Dua. Alright, the next one is another one that's been around for a while, is the DPX Gear Hest. This is the original version made by Line Steel. You got a big old massive slab of D2 steel, decent sized stop pin and pivot, and I've used this one pretty extensively as well. The coating's held up pretty good, no deep gouges. I haven't cut any metal or anything with this guy, but this one definitely could fall just like the Dua and the SNG. You could EDC any of them, but this one and this guy and this guy and this guy are pretty EDCable in my eyes, but I'm sure because of the price tag, especially like on this one or any of these, you may not want to use them hard like they're intended for, but definitely easier to carry. Let's see, the next one on my list This one's pretty pricey, and I also have a review of it, and that is the Curtis Knives F3 Warning. It's got a pretty beefy blade of CTS XHP steel. Another steel that I love a lot. You got that just ginormous pivot. That is the biggest pivot I think I have besides my Kaiser SLT. You have a nice beefy titanium frame lock with a steel lock bar insert. Nice action. This guy rockets out. It's riding on ball bearings and just whacks out. I love the jimping on this guy too. It's cut well. It really locks in whenever you put pressure down. But if you want to see a review of this guy, I have it up on the channel just to look around. Another good one that's very popular is the Spyderco Manix 2. And this one is in CPM crew wear. And I'll tell you what, out of all the steels I've ever sharpened, besides Maximet and 10V, this guy gave me hell. And I don't know if it's just the nature of crew wear or just, I don't know if I was doing something wrong. But very hard to sharpen for me on the wicked edge. And I managed to get it nice and sharp, but it took me a while, I'm going to be honest. This locking mechanism, it is pretty durable, and the crew wear, I think, could withstand some pretty hard use. So there you go. This one, you know, is more reasonable in price for actually wanting to use it, even though I use all mine. The next two are cold steels, and I think as far as your harder use knives, I think, you know, these two out of the 10 are the best bang for your buck. And this one is the older model. This is the Cold Steel American Lawman. This is the AUS 8 version. But the new S35VN or the CTS XHP ones are great as well. You have arguably the strongest lock in the industry today, the Triad lock. Basically a modified back lock, and there's no doubt about it. It's a tough, very durable lock. You're more likely to break this blade before you break anything else on this knife. And this one, I put it through some pretty rough abuse at work as well. And I think this was $60 whenever they were out in the AUS 8 version. And I think you can get the upgraded version with the DLC coated blade and the now CPM S35VN for, I think, $80 to $100. I think that's a steal, especially if you're looking for a dedicated work knife. Of course, this one's not your fidgetability fun, you know, to play with as much, but like I said, if you're looking for a dedicated work knife, I think this is an excellent option, especially a dedicated work EDC knife. And, you know, if you're a first responder or a police officer or in the military, I think this thing would serve you very, very well. That choke up is just super, very, very, very comfortable. And in this grip too, this knife is very ergonomic. That's the American Lawman. And the last one, another cold steel, and that is the Ultimate Hunter. Also sporting that Triad lock. I like this nice classic drop point blade. I did modify mine because of the wonky edge termination. I kind of extended that choil, so I got a forward finger choil, comfortable forward finger choil. This one has the CTS XHP steel. This is another good EDC / hard use knife, nice and smooth. The deployment on this guy is very nice and smooth. One thing I like about the cold steel knives is that they just give you some beefy G10, which is far strong enough of material, and it lightens it up a lot. I mean, this is a pretty big knife, and let's see what the weight is on this guy. Because I can imagine if it had stainless liners, how heavy it would be. 4.86 ounces, and you got a beefy blade stock, And let's see, what's the total length on this guy? 8.5 inches, so it's a full size knife. That weight, I think it's they hit the mark really good on there, especially for having this steel back spring right there that adds that extra weight. It's the Cold Steel Ultimate Hunter. If you'd like to see any reviews on any of these knives that I haven't reviewed yet, please let me know down in the comments section below. I definitely don't mind reviewing any of them. Y'all know I love talking knives, and this is my 3 cold steel choices. And it's hard not to put a bunch of cold steels in there when you talk about hard use, tactical, or any of that, because let's face it, they produce that type of knife. That's their genre, is hard use, working, tactical, mall ninja, whatever you want to call it. They do a damn good job of it. So there you go. That's my 3 cold steels. And I've used all these cold steels pretty rough, especially the 4 Max. I put it through hell. And here's my 2 Spyderco choices. Like I said, I just want to know what your choices are down below, what you've used extensively, and just so I can, know what my subscribers like. Let's see, we got all the oddballs. We got the Boker Solo. Let me know if y'all want to see a review on this. I think I had, Aaron told me he wanted to see a review on this. Strider S&G, DPX Hest, the Grayman Knives Dua, and last but certainly not least, the Curtis Knives F3. Alright, guys and girls, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you're having an absolute wonderful day, and that therapy session did me good, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.